Hey guys, TGCast Productions. So I'm really excited to finally bring this video to you guys. This video took a lot of work, a lot of recording, a lot of testing. I had this video in mind for a couple of months now, so I'm definitely really excited to be able to finally present this to you. This video is going to revolve around a upgrade that came out with the Diamond Casino Heist. If you purchase the arcade, this upgrade can be bought. It's actually one of two upgrades that can be purchased with the arcade, and it can be purchased on one of the computers inside the arcade. And the upgrade is the Nano drone. I'm going to be talking in this video and discussing in this video why every player should invest in the Nano drone. I definitely believe a lot of players in online really don't realize how important the Nano drone is, or really I should say how much potential the Nano drone holds, really beyond Rockstar's intended purpose, which is really for its use in the Diamond Casino Heist. But it even has a lot of use and benefits beyond that, which I definitely believe a lot of players don't realize, and we're going to be discussing all of that in this video. So I can pretty much assure you, if you did not think that the Nano drone was worth investing in, I can, like I said, I can almost assure you that by the end of this video, your mind will definitely be changed on this matter. Now, as I stated, you do need to own the arcade to be able to purchase this upgrade, the Nano drone station, and it can be purchased on one of the computers inside of your arcade, as you see up here on the screen, and it will be under the tab of upgrades. And it retails for $1,460,000, which is definitely considerably pricey if we can compare it to the Terrorbyte drone or drone station, the Terrorbyte, which is $815,000. So it's about a $645,000 price difference, and we'll touch on both of these drones a little bit later in the video. But those are the prices. Essentially, though, once you buy the drone, you can deploy the Nano drone. And once you buy the Nano drone, you can deploy the Nano drone from a drone station inside your arcade here with up to 3 other players, as you're seeing right here. And then you can also deploy the drone in Freemode outside of your arcade through the inventory section of your interaction menu. Now, all in all, these I consider is just being added bonuses to the Nano drone. If this was all the Nano drone could do, I definitely would not recommend spending really any money on it. However, I don't think it'd be worth the $1,460,000. However, I do believe there are 3 main reasons why you should invest in the Nano drone, and we're going to discuss all 3 of those reasons in this video. Now, the first reason I recommend investing in the Nano drone, and probably the most obvious one and really intended, I would say, by Rockstar with the Diamond Casino Heist update, is its use in the Diamond Casino Heist. And really with all 3 approaches, as we'll talk about, I'd say probably it's going to be most useful in the silent and sneaky approach for the sake of stealth takedowns. However, it can be used and be very beneficial in the other 2 approaches. What you're seeing here is a variation of the Big Con approach with the Bugstar outfits, and the Nano drone can even be used in a number of the variations with the Big Con approach, like with the Bugstar variation. So you actually see here, what's nice about the Nano drone is I pretty much, if you looked on the mini-map or the radar there, I pretty much got inside of that NPC's cone of vision. Now, obviously, if I was trying to do a melee stealth takedown with my character, I would not be able to do that. And what else is nice here is you can even see a lot of these windows will be open with the doors, so a lot of times you'll be able to fly your drone through there, and you can pretty much get right up in the enemy's face, so to say, or right up next to them. Obviously you don't want to really be bumping into them, but you can pretty much get right up next to them and you won't alert them. So it definitely makes stealth takedowns a lot easier, because obviously if you're trying to do a melee one, you might accidentally bump into the NPC or fail the melee takedown, and you could end up alerting them and obviously failing, in the case of maybe the silent sneaky approach, stealth breaking, or in the case of like what you're seeing here, the Bugstar approach with the Bugstar variation with the Big Con, no disguise breaking, and obviously you want to try to hit that objective for the sake of you being able to have more time in the vault and gather more loot, ultimately having higher earnings. So it definitely is very beneficial in that sense for better stealth takedowns. Now, I'm not saying, like, as far as the Big Con approach is concerned, I'm not saying that it can be useful with every Big Con variation. Something like obviously the group sect variation, you shouldn't need the you shouldn't you shouldn't really need the Nano drone. But with variations such as like the Bug Star approach or the maintenance approach, where there are going to be stealth takedowns, and obviously helping to prevent you from, no disguise breaking, definitely the Nano drone can be very useful with those variations of the Big Con approach. And believe it or not, the Nano drone can even be useful in the aggressive approach, which many players probably wouldn't think. What I actually had a spontaneous idea here is actually during a stream the first time I was going through the aggressive approach, and I decided, I knew we were going to have to encounter enemies after exiting the vault, and obviously that could cause us to take some damage and end up losing more loot value. So I had the idea of, instead of exiting the man trap right away and, engaging all the enemies, pretty much head on with all our characters, why not see if I can deploy the Nano drone while we're safely, hiding inside the man trap, and see if I can take out all the enemies with the Nano drone in this downstairs casino control room here, and obviously again prevent us from taking damage and losing loot value. And believe it or not, it actually worked. I wasn't sure if this would work, but it does. The enemies even seem fairly unreactive to what's going on, as you'll see here. And I was able to take out all the enemies in this downstairs area with the drone, and we didn't take any damage from this point in the heist. What's actually even more interesting is I'm not going to show it in this video because it was during a stream. I accidentally recorded the audio. It was during another stream actually, and I was recording the audio, and I don't want the audio from the stream as well as the volume from that being overlaying with all of what in this video. But you can actually take the Nano drone to the upstairs area of the casino and take out all the enemies there as well. If you actually have one of your teammates at least open up all the doors so that you can fly the Nano drone through, you won't I should say lose connection, which we'll talk about a little bit later as far as losing connection. But you can essentially, hypothetically speaking, take the Nano drone throughout the entire casino here where all the enemies are and take out every enemy with the Nano drone, just about, and then really only have to deal with the noose outside. So you can essentially, like I just said, take out all the enemies inside the casino without really having to fire a shot, or really not really too many shots at all, which is definitely interesting. So overall, this is definitely very useful in the aggressive approach, due to the fact that again, you are going to be forced to face enemies head on in this approach. So in that sense, obviously, taking damage will result in you losing loot value, so you want to be taking the least amount of damage possible, and the Nano drone can definitely help prevent that. The second reason I recommend investing in the Nano drone is it is arguably better than the Terrorbyte drone, at least as far as the performance between these two drones are concerned. What you're seeing here, on the left I have the Nano drone, and on the right I have the Terrorbyte drone. Right here I was testing the speed and the range between these two. You'll see right off the bat I started right around the same time with both of them. You can see on the left that the Nano drone is going much faster, or considerably faster than the Terrorbyte drone on the right. You can see pretty much the area or the ground that we're covering, the Nano drone is covering way faster, and I'm going to skip a little bit even ahead here a bit. But the speed is definitely greater with the Nano drone, and you'll end up seeing the Nano drone does cut out here. That was definitely a bug, and I'll show why here in a minute. But you can see it's much further along than the Terrorbyte the Terrorbyte drone at that point, and you end up seeing pretty much right around when the Terrorbyte drone starts getting across sort of that body of water that you're seeing there, it'll start to begin to lose connection, and ultimately, obviously, will lose connection with the Terrorbyte. You'll be unable to use it. So, the range definitely is greater. Obviously, you saw with at least with the Nano drone, you saw with the Nano drone, as I showed a minute ago or a few seconds ago, the Nano drone made it much further than where the Terrorbyte drone is currently at. However, I know for a fact it can go much further than even that, as I'm going to show you here next. I actually spawned what you're seeing here, the Nano drone from the arcade, and I'm going to skip a little bit ahead here, but you'll see I ended up getting it all the way past Maze Bank Tower. I'll even sort of show you here on the map how far down I got it, but this definitely goes to show that overall the Nano drone does have more range. For whatever reason, the day that I was testing this, the Nano drone was giving me a little bit of trouble even when I was spawning it through the inventory in the interaction menu. Actually, that's why I was bringing the drone up actually from the arcade towards the Terrorbyte when I was testing the range and the speed between the Nano drone and the Terrorbyte drone. But overall, the Nano drone is faster than the Terrorbyte drone. It also has much greater range than the Terrorbyte drone, seemingly pretty much unlimited range. I'm not really sure on that, but definitely greater range than the Terrorbyte drone, no doubt about that. I also wanted to test the recharge rates on the boost, shock, and detonation for both of these drones. Right here we have the Nano drone on the left, Terrorbyte drone on the right once again. And don't be mistaken, it will seem like the boost recharges quicker on the Nano drone. However, I just deployed it slightly quicker than the Terrorbyte drone, as you're seeing when I was editing this video. So overall, the boost does recharge at the same rate for both of these drones. And here we test the shock recharge rate for both drones. Again, Nano drone being on the left, Terrorbyte drone being on the right, and they both recharge at the same rate for the shock also. And lastly, we compare the charge up for the detonation time for both of these drones, and it does appear to, both these drones do appear to detonate at the same time. Any difference or really slight difference you're seeing is just from me when I'm putting the editing together, but for the most part, the boost recharge time, the shock recharge time, as well as the detonation charge up time do appear to be the same for both the Nano drone as well as the Terrorbyte drone. Now, another thing I want to compare between the Nano drone and the Terrorbyte drone is their use in free mode. We're going to look at the Nano drone first. Now, the Nano drone can be used in free mode. However, when it comes to participating in missions or completing missions in free mode, that is where the line is drawn, at least for the Nano drone. As you can see here, I'm about to start I did start a headhunter. It was a VIP work, and you'll see it's disabled. The Nano drone is disabled. It pretty much just says that it is not active while on this mission. So for the most part, the Nano drone, given this, does not appear that it can be used in free mode missions. And I'm even going to show you next a client job. I was going to see if I could use it on the client job targeted data, which is really the Terrorbyte drone is great for the targeted data client job. Really one of the main reasons to have the Terrorbyte drone. And you'll see here, I'm going to skip ahead once I'm outside. I just started the client job targeted data, and you'll see that I also try to spawn in the Nano drone from the interaction menu, and it also disables it on this mission as well. So that's pretty much 2-0 right now, as far as or really 0-2, I guess you could say, as far as missions that work and missions that don't work for the Nano drone. So that is definitely interesting regarding this. However, I didn't stop my testing there. I also tried to use the Nano drone in a import-export source mission. It was also disabled for this mission as well. I'm assuming it's going to be disabled for all the other source missions in free mode. Also, I even tried it with a gun running cell mission, as you'll see here. Once again, also disabled, and I'm assuming that it'll pretty much remain that way across the board for all free mode sales as well. And I also tried it with a Diamond Casino Heist prep work, which takes place in free mode. I believe this was the hack in the variation where you have to infiltrate the Noose server farm. Again, disabled. And I also tested it with a Doomsday Heist prep work, which also takes place in free mode also, and I believe this was during Act 1, and also disabled again. The only I guess you really can't say it's a mission, I guess, but I was able to use the Nano drone oddly during a business battle, which was really odd. I'm assuming you could also probably use it during free mode events as well. I mean, if you can find it to be useful in a free mode event or a business battle, by all means, that's great. But this was all I could really find in free mode, as far as, I guess, borderline missions that the Nano drone could be used in. Other than that, really any other missions, source missions, cell missions, anything like that, VIP work, client jobs, for the most part, the Nano drone is going to be disabled for those free mode missions. Now, in comparison with the Terrorbyte drone, I also did some testing in free mode also with that drone, and you'll see here I started a headhunter, and I was able to activate the Terrorbyte drone during this VIP work, which obviously, as we saw a minute ago, you could not do with the Nano drone. So this was definitely very interesting. You're going to see here, I'm going to activate it. You won't be able to see the targets on the map, which is interesting. So I don't know really know how beneficial this would be unless you knew exactly where the targets were, but you can activate this during a headhunter nonetheless, and probably likely all other VIP work also. and I even tested it with a gun running cell mission. You'll see there on the mini map I'm flying away from my Terrorbyte, and you'll see here I was doing a gun running partial sail, and you can see the Phantom Wedge right there. So you can also spawn it during gun running cell missions and probably all other cell missions also, and then obviously you can use it in the client jobs. You know, those are really the main, the two client jobs, targeted data and diamond shopping, are really the two main missions in Freemode that really serves or gives really the main purpose of having the Terrorbyte drone. And I didn't go into as much testing, you know, I didn't test it as much, you know, in Freemode as I did with the Nano drone, but likely I can also probably be used in business battles as well as the prep works. And I do have a reason for why I believe the Terrorbyte drone can be used in Freemode missions, and I'll mention that at the end of the video. But overall, really, I would say that this is the only con of the Nano drone, the fact that it can't be used in Freemode missions, whereas the Terrorbyte can be. But again, I believe this is truly the only con of the Nano drone overall. And the last thing I want to talk about while we're on the topic of comparing the Nano drone and the Terrorbyte drone is their use in PvP. Now, personally, using either of these drones in PvP wouldn't necessarily be my first, second, third, fourth, or even really fifth choice in a PvP situation. You know, I definitely there's a lot of other vehicles, weapons, and even gadgets in online that are going to be way more beneficial in a PvP fight or situation than using these drones. However, I did mess around a little bit with it in PvP. You'll see here I did shock this player about 7 or 8 times with both the Nano drone and the Terrorbyte drone. I don't know exactly if the shock can kill a player, or if it can, how many shocks it takes. Like I said, I briefly went over this. Ultimately, if you are obviously going after a player, you know, you're going to want to just use the detonation. You know, pretty much the detonation on both drones are going to be the same. So, you know, honestly, the only time I could really see you using the shock is maybe if you're teaming up or you're helping maybe one of your friends out to try to, you know, maybe knock down a player they're fighting with, and then they can maybe finish them off, something like that. But other than that, you're most going to obviously want to use the detonation, you know, if you're trying to take out a player. But overall, if I were to choose between the Nano drone or the Terrorbyte drone, I would ultimately choose the Nano drone. And there are two main reasons why I would choose the Nano drone over the Terrorbyte drone. The first main reason is it's definitely more easily able to be spawned in during a PvP fight than the Terrorbyte drone. Considering that you can just spawn it in from the interaction menu, it definitely makes it way more beneficial than having to per se, you know, drive your Terrorbyte over to the PvP fight, and then at that point, you know, the PvP fight may move, then you have to move your Terrorbyte. On top of that, the range and the speed isn't as good as on the Terrorbyte drone as it is on the Nano drone. So I definitely think that given that, you know, it definitely makes the Nano drone more beneficial in a PvP situation. And the second main reason I recommend, or I would choose the Nano drone in a PvP situation over the Terrorbyte drone, is the fact that I can spawn it from my arcade. Whereas, you know, you can spawn the Nano drone in from, again, the inventory section in your interaction menu or the arcade, whereas the Terrorbyte drone can only be spawned in from the Terrorbyte. Now, sort of regarding that, you know, spawning the Terrorbyte drone in from the Terrorbyte, you're still susceptible to getting killed. Yes, the Terrorbyte drone or the Terrorbyte is one of the strongest vehicles in the game as far as withstanding explosives. However, you know, the Terrorbyte will eventually get destroyed, and obviously you'll get kicked out of the drone station at that point, and then be susceptible to being killed by an enemy player. Whereas, you know, in comparison to the Nano drone, you can spawn the Nano drone in from the arcade, and you cannot get killed by a player inside of your arcade without them using some sort of a bug or glitch. So given those two reasons, that's really why I would choose the Nano drone over the Terrorbyte drone in a PvP situation. However, again, I think there are many other weapons, gadgets, and vehicles that are going to be way more beneficial than those, or than the drones, but I would choose the Nano drone over the, you know, Terrorbyte drone given my reasons. I even heard you can potentially spawn these in adversary modes, but I don't really know how useful they'll be in adversary modes. Like I said, you know, I would say the main reason for these drones and really intended by Rockstar is their use in PvE rather than PvP. So that's sort of my reasoning there. But again, as I stated, I would definitely choose the Nano drone over the Terrorbyte drone if I had to choose in a PvP situation. And one more thing I want to quickly mention with PvP that I actually tested was very interesting. You'll see here I spawned the Nano drone from the inventory section of my interaction menu, and I want to see how sort of the player reaction was between players. And you'll see here my friend actually shot me in the head about 8 or 9, maybe even 10 or more times with the SNS pistol in the head, and it took that many times for him to be able to kill me. And I even tried this with an explosive as well, because I was very interested in how I was able to take more damage as far as gunfire is concerned. You'll see he blew me up with a sticky bomb. It only took one, so explosive damage still appeared to be the same. But as far as bullet damage is concerned, you do appear to take more bullet damage when you're using the Nano drone outside of the arcade, so that is definitely very interesting. But you also don't disappear from the map as you would with the RC Bandito. My friend did tell me that he was still able to see me on the mini map, but definitely interesting that you can take more bullet damage, it does appear, when using the Nano drone outside the arcade. So that was definitely very interesting. Now the third and final reason I recommend investing in the Nano drone is due to its use outside of the Diamond Casino Heist finals in missions that take place in other sessions. So sessions that are obviously outside of Freemode. What you're seeing here is a contact mission, ball is to the wall. You'll see I spawned in the Nano drone. I was able to spawn in this contact mission, and I just started taking out these NPCs. What was interesting is I wasn't sure, because none of them were reacting. None of the other NPCs in the area were reacting to me taking out their friendlies. So I wasn't sure if this was and it's kind of weird because you see that one NPC is kind of jolting weird, so I wasn't sure if this was sort of just them not seeing me take out their friendlies, or maybe sort of just the game wasn't sure how to react to this. So I did do a little bit of further testing, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's definitely very interesting. And you'll see here, I'll skip ahead here, you cannot spawn the Terrorbyte in outside of a Freemode session, so you can't spawn them in these separate sessions where these contact missions take place, so you can't use the Terrorbyte drone in these missions, but the Nano drone does work. Now this one I was curious, as we saw with the previous contact mission, balls to the wall, if the NPCs just didn't see me taking down their friendlies and that's why they didn't get alerted, or if they just really didn't react to a player using the Nano drone. And I decided to try the contact mission, A Titan of a Job, where I knew that the NPCs would see their friendlies getting taken down, since in this mission they are all very close together inside the hangar where the Titan is located. So I knew this would definitely confirm that pretty much that idea of whether they got alerted or not. But one thing I want to show you here real quickly before I talk about that is there does appear to be a connection limit or range limit inside of these contact missions, where obviously in Freemode the Nano drone really doesn't seem to have a connection or range limit. So do be mindful of that. Obviously you're going to want to deploy the Nano drone around where you're going to want to use it in the contact mission, and pretty much any other mission, as we'll talk about here. And also with the Diamond Casino Heist finals, there's probably likely going to be a range limit also, so just be mindful of that when using the Nano drone in these missions. In any case, I ended up reloading the mission A Titan of a Job because since I already deployed it in the last contact, or in the previous attempt with this, I was already out of range, and it does appear you can only use the Nano drone once in these missions, and also with the Diamond Casino Heist and any other missions it can be used for, so you do want to be wise on when you use this. But what I did here is I landed my MK2 presser on the hangar next to the hangar where the Titan was located, and I flew my Nano drone down, and pretty much this first kill right here confirms the idea that the NPCs do not react to the Nano drone. And I'll skip ahead here. Obviously I'm not going to show me taking out all the NPCs, but I was pretty much able to take out every single NPC inside of this hangar, fly down with my MK2 presser, steal the Titan, and get out scot-free without having to fire a single shot. So once again, this pretty much does confirm that the NPCs in these missions do not react to the player using the Nano drone. I also decided to use the Nano drone in what was considered one of the hardest contact missions back in 2013 and 2014, and still is probably one of the hardest contact missions even still today. But what makes this mission very difficult is, as you see here, as soon as I start taking out these NPCs in this contact mission, Death from Above, the police automatically get involved. You automatically get a 3-star 1 level, and it definitely makes this mission very difficult because you're dealing with the enemies inside the mansion, you're dealing with the police, you have to get a picture of this target. There's a lot going on in this mission that makes it very difficult, but again, the enemies inside the mansion are not reacting to me using the nano drone on them, so that is still remains the same. What was a little bit odd with this mission is towards the end, the police did end up shooting at my nano drone and ultimately taking it out, which was a little bit odd because they didn't seem to react to it in the beginning, but towards the end they did, so that was a little bit weird. But I'd say the highlight of this mission is when you are using the nano drone, they don't seem to attack your character. You'll see here I'm pretty much safely sitting over there, and the police did not try to come up there and kill me. And you'll see here next, the police could have reached me. So it does seem that when you're using the nano drone, they will not try to kill you. At least the player that is using the nano drone, as we'll see here shortly. But that is definitely very interesting. But overall, definitely made this mission a lot easier. I did end up dying one time. That was a mistake on my end, but if I would have had another player helping me with this mission, you know, using their nano drone also, it definitely would have probably even went smoother, or much smoother than it already did. Now the final content mission that I tested, I'm going to show you in this video, is a more recent one that was released with the Diamond Casino Resort update. It was one of the story missions. Definitely, it was the last one and probably the hardest one, and that was cashing out. And you'll see here, I'm using the drone in this mission. The enemies seem mostly unreactive. It was a little bit odd. This mission is not all the enemies were popping up on the map or on the mini map like they should have, so that was a little bit odd. But all in all, they did end up getting alerted, and what was interesting, and I said I'd mention this, that I didn't get killed, however my friend did, because the enemies were not reacting to me while I was using the drone, but because he was in the mission, and I feel like that might have been a reason why they got alerted. I feel like when you have other players in the mission where they're not using the nano drone, but you are, or vice versa, they're going to end up getting alerted. However, they will not try to attack the player that's using the nano drone. They will only attack the player that isn't using the nano drone. So that is definitely very interesting. But overall, can definitely make these missions a lot easier. I also had my friend check. He said he was able to spawn the nano drone in as well. Mine was disabled. Obviously, like I said, you can only use it one time in these missions. So when we respawned, it was disabled, but he was able to use his. So that's definitely very interesting. So like I said earlier, you want to be wise when you use them. But pretty much just to recap, you know, what the nano drone is capable of in these contact missions. Pretty much the enemies are unreactive to you using the nano drone. They won't attack you when you're using the nano drone, and also, you know, pretty much unlike the Diamond Casino Heist, or the two approaches, the big con approach and the aggressive approach, where only the host can use the nano drone. All players in these contact missions can use the nano drone, so definitely can make these content missions go a lot smoother. So let's just sort of recap what the nano drone is capable of. I'm not saying that the nano drone is going to make all these contact missions easier. I'm not saying it can be used with all of them, but there's a good number of them that using the nano drone will definitely make them go a lot smoother and make them a lot easier, as I showed you with the examples that I presented. Another type of mission or missions that the nano drone can be used for, as you're seeing here, is the Doomsday Heist setups, which take place outside of Freemode. Not to be confused with the prep work, which takes place in Freemode, but the Doomsday Heist setups, again, outside of Freemode. You'll see here some of the contact missions, the NPCs are unreactive to you taking down their friendlies. So that is, you know, also very interesting. And as you'll see here, I'll skip a little bit ahead, but I did end up forgetting 2 NPCs, but I was pretty much able to take out all of them in this area here. I believe this was the Dead Courier setup on Act 1, but I did forget 2 of them, so I had to eat some snacks here because I started getting lit up a little bit, but pretty much was able to go through this entire area here without having to fire a single shot. So the nano drone also going to be useful in the Doomsday Heist setups. And as you likely would have guessed it, the nano drone can also be used in the Doomsday Heist finals. As you're seeing here, this is the Act 1 final. I was able to use the nano drone on these enemies, and my friend was also able to spawn his nano drone in, like in the contact missions also. Although I don't show that, he was able to use it, and that could definitely be helpful because obviously there are enemies outside of the facility, so I could essentially, hypothetically, use my nano drone outside as I am here, and then obviously my nano drone would be disabled for the rest of the heist. However, my friend would still have his nano drone because he owns it, and he could use it inside the facility to take out the majority of the enemies in the inside of the facility. So that could that's sort of how you want to use the nano drone to your advantage, especially if you have other players in a particular mission or job or heist where you're able to use if everyone has a nano drone, there's multiple parts. We're gonna have to take about NPCs and all those different parts, similar to what I just talked about. Obviously you're gonna want to use a nano drone in that way, which again will be to your advantage overall. So nano drone could definitely be very beneficial in the Doomsday heist setups and finals also. And finally, as you may have been wondering, the nano drone can also be used in the original heist setups, and as I'll show you here in a minute, the finals also. So this is the original heist Fleesa setup, the Kuruma, and you'll see here I'm using the nano drone on these enemies, and they do end up getting alerted, and like I said earlier, I do believe it's because I had obviously another player with me, because you do have to have at least one other player to complete this setup. What is interesting though, and sort of confirm what I talked about earlier, they're shooting at the at my friend or in this mission, or at the player that I was doing this mission with, who is actually further back in cover and completely disregarding me, who is standing outside of cover in front of the player that was helping me, completely out in the open, and they're completely disregarding me and trying to shoot the other like I said, the other player in this mission or in this setup. So again, confirms the fact that when you're using the nano drone, they are pretty much unreactive to you. They are not going to try to attack you. However, whoever's not using the nano drone, they are going to try to attack. But it is interesting, they can also be used in the setups as well. As soon as I realized you could use these in the original heist setups, I immediately thought about the Humane Lab setup, the Deliver EMP, that stealth mission that a lot of players have trouble with the first couple times they go through it. Likely, if the nano drone could be used in the Fleesa setup in finals, I'm going to show you, it probably can be used with all the other original heist setups and finals also. So I would imagine that again it's going to be able to be used in that Deliver EMP stealth mission for the Humane Lab heist. And I could just imagine if you have at least 2 players in that setup who own the nano drone, that mission will definitely likely go a lot smoother than it would without the nano drone. So it definitely can be helpful even with the original heist setups in finals as well. And just to show you proof here real quickly that the nano drone can be used in the Fleesa heist final, really not too much of a purpose for it in this particular heist final, but given that it can be used in this heist final, it likely can be used in all the other original heist setups and finals. And as we talked about with the Deliver EMP mission, there is definitely probably a number of those original setups and finals that the nano drone can be beneficial for. One thing that I didn't test, I'm not 100% sure of, because I believe the player that I was doing this heist final with did not own the nano drone. I don't know if it works like the Diamond Casino heist approaches, at least with the big con approach and the aggressive approach, where only, I believe, the host can spawn it in, whereas we saw with the contact missions and the Doomsday heist setups and finals, all players who own the nano drone who are participating in those missions or heists can spawn the nano drone in. So I'm not quite sure how it works with these original heists, but in any case, you can use them in these original heist setups and finals, and I would say there's definitely a handful of them where the nano drone can definitely prove to be beneficial for these original setups and heist finals. Now lastly, what I want to do in this video is just quickly go over everything we talked about regarding the nano drone in a pro and con form. So if we look at the first pro here, the nano drone can be useful in all 3 approaches of the Diamond Casino heist finals. So as I talked about or mentioned earlier, you don't need to own the nano drone for its use in the silent sneaky approach. However, if you did want to use it for certain variations of the big con approach as well as the aggressive approach, and we talked about it can be beneficial with those 2 approaches, you will need to own the nano drone for the sake of using it in those 2 approaches. If we look at the second pro here, the nano drone performs better than the Terrorbyte drone, which, as we talked about and we were testing and comparing the nano drone with the Terrorbyte drone, the nano drone was faster than the Terrorbyte drone. It also had a greater range than the Terrorbyte drone in free mode. The third con here, the nano drone is better for PvP, I would say, than the Terrorbyte drone. I had 2 main reasons for that, one being that the nano drone could be spawned in more conveniently in a PvP situation through the interaction menu where the Terrorbyte drone can't be, and also you can spawn the nano drone from your arcade where no player can kill you while you're inside that property, whereas when you're using the Terrorbyte drone from the Terrorbyte, someone can eventually destroy your Terrorbyte, disabling the drone and having a chance at killing you. So those are my reasons for why I believe the Nano drone is better for PvP. And also the Nano drone can be, if we look at the last con or the last pro here, the Nano drone can also be used in missions and heists outside of Freemode. So, contact missions, the Doomsday heist setups and finals, as well as the original heist setups and finals. The only con that I had for the Nano drone is that it cannot be used in Freemode missions like the Terrorbyte drone can be. Honestly, if the Nano drone could have been used in the Freemode missions, the Terrorbyte drone would pretty much become obsolete, because really the main reason for having the Terrorbyte drone is for its use in those 2 client jobs, targeted data and diamond shopping. If you could use the Nano drone in those client jobs and the other Freemode missions, you really wouldn't have a use for the Terrorbyte drone. And I talked about earlier in the video, I would mention why I believe you can use the Terrorbyte drone in Freemode missions, as well as the Nano drone in missions outside of Freemode that take place in separate sessions. I believe in the most logical response I could come up with is it may have something to do with the programming. I'm obviously not an expert on this, but again, the Terrorbyte drone is mainly for the client job, which is a Freemode mission, so that's likely why it may be compatible with other Freemode missions. And the Nano drone is used for the Diamond Casino Heist finals, which are missions that take place in separate sessions. So that's likely why it's able to be used in contact missions in the original Heist setups and finals, Doomsday Heist setups and finals, because they all take place in separate sessions also. So that was really the most logical response I could come up really regarding the use of the Terrorbyte drone in Freemode, as well as the Nano drone in missions outside of Freemode. All in all, I highly recommend that you invest in this upgrade, the Nano drone station, if you own the arcade. I definitely believe that it surpasses its main usefulness online, which is its use in the Diamond Casino Heist finals with all 3 approaches. I definitely believe it surpasses that usefulness as I have presented to you in this video, and definitely you can find it very, very beneficial in online. So again, I highly recommend you invest in this if you haven't already. But in any case, guys, I didn't want to make this video as long as I did, but I definitely wanted to cover everything regarding the Nano drone. But I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it extremely beneficial. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Be sure to comment if you have any questions. And as always, have a great day.